Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. It is Sunday morning, a little after 11 a.m. Uh, we are well into the month of April, and feels good to be here this morning. I I want to, if we get a chance, look at a lesson I'm real excited about. But before we see if there are any questions and or comments about anything.
Hey, Ryan. I don't have a question. I'm just going to say thank everyone for coming out yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to probably wait till the end to get to that, Charles, because I wanted to didn't also want to talk about it. Yeah, good. Yeah, thank you. So, and I'll try to bring it up again at the end, and uh, in case he has a comment. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Okay. On last time we spoke, we just did a kind of a Q and A. Uh, uh, Based on some things that Pastor talked uh, and from last Monday, uh, and I was hoping he was here to kind of recap that a little bit. But I know it dealt with bringing balance to humanity and who we are and some of the things that we feel and where we are in this thing and I think we are everything we discuss now is right in the midst of who and what we are and what we are feeling and the reason we feel some of the things that we do. Uh, I was telling a friend of mine the other day that I have had this, uh, uh, not today, but overwhelming feeling of guilt, and I that was first, and Paul, what is causing this, and I really could not come up with an answer, so I just kind of dismiss it as being maybe it's not even mine. Maybe it was something I was feeling because of something someone else is going through. Uh, but I say that to say I think we are at the place where thoughts and feelings are very intense right now, and we are sensitive about things that probably more sensitive, better say it, than we have ever been about what the things that are happening in our personal lives and people around us and what we see globally. So kind of a stay tuned kind of thing. Any thoughts or comments on any of that or anything that again, just don't want to make sure we don't miss anybody. Okay. I want to invite you to turn to Jeremiah chapter 1. I am fascinated with Jeremiah right now. And let's talk about this for a bit. Are we there? Jeremiah 1. Okay. I'm going to do this a little bit different. Instead of starting at verse 1, we're going to come back to verse 1, but I want to let's see. I want to start at verse 4, and we're going to look at verse 4, and then we're going to go back to verse 1. Okay, and that's kind of backwards, but I hope you kind of follow me here. And please, questions or comments if you guys see something. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 1, I'm starting in verse 4. Now the word of the Lord came to me saying, this is Jeremiah talking, before I formed, no, excuse me, that's God talking, excuse me. The word of the Lord came to me, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I have appointed you a prophet to the nations. Okay, he's talking to Jeremiah here. I want to hopefully kind of look at this a little differently as our thoughts are changing, as we were talking about earlier, being more sensitive to things that we see. I was talking about my feelings earlier this week, and I think as we are transforming or being transformed, our thoughts and how we see ourselves also need to transform. But this describes us to a T to me. If you could, I want you to look at yourself as a doctor. You are a doctor. You have gone to medical school, and there are other people in your class as well. And you guys have taken all this training and done everything to become a doctor. But as this thing is going on, as the practice is going on, you see some of your classmates taking shortcuts instead of diagnosing diseases and coming up with remedies. What you see doing is everybody is giving out pills. There are pills for everything. There are pills not only for headaches, but there are pills for this and pills for that. Nobody is trying to cure anything. But your desire is a lot deeper than that. So you continue on into medical school because you want to know how to change things. You want to know how to bring about cures. You want to know how to recognize symptoms. You want to know how to talk to people and bring comfort to people. So all of you are called doctors, but yours is a little different. And as you can see, as you recognize that you are becoming something else, you look at yourself and you see that the journey that you took, the different journey that you took, is a journey on a path called Abraham. And you took this journey all alone because nobody else wanted to take it, and you allowed God as you stepped out of self, and you did not let your ego dictate who you are. You became a healer. You became more than a doctor. You became a healer. You became one that was life-giving. You became one that was a comforter. So, and the energy that Elohim showed you was the energies called Habakkuk. The energies called Jeremiah. The energies called Isaiah. And how you pull all these together to become a healer and to become a life giver. So you became enlightenment to the land. You were not just a mere doctor like the rest. You became so much more. So it says, now the Lord came to me saying, before you were formed in the womb. In other words, looking at this thing, womb is not just talking about your belly or physical womb, of course, as we have talked about. You have been hollowed out. There was a place hollowed out for you. There is something different about this. There is, as you totally submitted yourself to this process of walking this journey, this process of becoming, you became hollowed out as well. The experiences that you had with Elohim became a part of you. So he says, I have formed you while you were in the womb. In other words, I have shaped you. I have pulled you together, and I knew you. I had experiences with you. We had an intimacy. We became one before you were in the womb. And then I consecrated you. I made you into something different than the rest. I made you able to see that you were different. I made you your vision different than what everybody else was seeing. And I appointed you prophets over the nations. And we're going to come back to that because I want to talk about prophets, I hope I can give you a different version of prophets than we've seen before. Okay. Any questions so far? So Jeremiah is not talking.
I'm sorry, Ron. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say Jeremiah is just not talking about a person. These writings are descriptions of us. And it is so that we can see ourselves and digest this and accept the fact that, you know what, I've walked away from being wrong. I've walked away from that. All those preconceived notions and all these things that made me who I am, who I thought was important, who are all my values, I've given away. I've given up. And I am using these energies now to not only continue to transform me, but to transfer the world, transfer the nations. Sorry, George.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of your mentioning about a prophet, and we come to understand it in reference to the perspective of a prophet being able to predict or being able to see the future. But I think, again, in terms of our history and culture and origin, it talks about a prophet being a person who is a historian, a person who has wisdom and are able to, appreciate this life journey that we've been on. And so just trying to have a better understanding of what prophet means, and maybe Pastor or anyone else can share about that. But I think in terms of just our history, a prophet is that person who's able to have wisdom and knowledge about our historical evolution or presence. I just wanted to share those thoughts. Hopefully it didn't distract or create any misunderstanding.
Not at all, George. In fact, you're right on target. That's exactly where I'm going with this. The prophet is, we have come to know. We're going to expand on that just a little bit, because I want all of us to see who we are. Prophet doesn't just mean that I tell the truth. Talk of the future. We're going to expound on that and look at it a little bit. Okay. But thank you. Yeah, you're right on key. Right on target there. I'm gonna back up though. Yes, sir. I'm gonna back up to verse 1 here and come forward with this, because this is I want us to I wanted to make that distinction though, and we'll come back to it in just a second. The word of Jeremiah, I'm in verse 1 now. The word of Jeremiah. Anybody else? I'm sorry. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Okay. The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah, of the priests who were in Anahoth, in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Lord came in the days of Josiah, the sons of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, until the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, until the exile of Jerusalem in the 5th month. What is this saying? What is this saying? This is a description. If you notice, a lot of scripture starts off like this. It talks about names. It talks about cities, and it's not just talking about, as we already know, these individuals. This is talking about the times, the culture, where he is, the thoughts of man at this time. So if you notice here, one of the names that stands out is Josiah. Josiah in these verses is mentioned 3 times. Josiah means Yahweh or Yah supports. It means buttress. It means to be supported by a wall, a strong wall. Okay, so what is all of this saying? We've already talked about during this time, Judah and Jerusalem were corrupt. They were corrupt. That is the analogy that I used earlier, talking about the doctors, that just it didn't try to cure anything. All they wanted to do is make you feel better temporarily. That's the vision that I was trying to get us to see. Nothing is being curative. There's no corrections. There is no vision of God. There is only corruption here. There are opportunities, because if you look at this, it says throughout this whole thing, the word of Jeremiah was in the land of Benjamin. In other words, in these whole time, Jeremiah was a prophet for some 40 years. And at this whole time, there was confusion in Judah, which should gives them every opportunity to praise, gives them every opportunity to find themselves, every opportunity to be consecrated, every opportunity to find peace beyond measure. Jeru is that fire, that flame that is inside of you, every opportunity to be ignited. So throughout this whole time, you prefer to walk in confusion. The word of God is with you the whole way, and you prefer confusion. That is what this is saying. This is no different than where we are right now. The opportunity is not has not changed, but man has chosen to turn the word of God into what he wants it to be. And religion is like giving up a pill that makes people feel better. You walk in, you get sweaty, you sing songs, and you go home, and nothing has changed. And by the next week, you're back in the same state. So what we do is we're putting life to these words. We're breathing life into these words so that we can not only see ourselves in this transformation, but show us how to transform what else is going on in the earth. Okay? So these words, again, when you stop and look at them, like let me take on. Jeremiah, of course, means Yahweh or Yah or loosens. He exalts. He brings up, rises up, make you higher, take you up. This scripture is just again. I told you what Josiah means. Let me see another one here. Antioch, the place where he lived, means to testify or to sing or to announce, to take heed in something, to pay attention to something, to be alert. So in other words, they did not, it's almost like the word of God is speaking to you. You are being warned, but you're steady doing what you want to do. That little voice is steady in the back of your mind. That little voice is steady talking to you, but you're steady doing what you want to do. The things that bring you pleasure, the thing that brings you wealth, the things that make you look like everybody else looks. You have your eyes more on what other people and other things are going on in the cultures around you rather than the Elohim that is speaking to your heart. Questions or comments, y'all? So you move to the energy. You are the doctor. You are the one who wants to be a healer. You are the one who embraces the energy and the fire that you feel inside of you, and it pushes you to want more. And the more you get, the more you want. And you say, Lord, I want this. I want to be the one who sits in the door. I want to be the one that sits at the gate and greet people and show them righteousness and show them enlightenment. I want to be the one that is the healer of the land. So, as George said, he says, I have appointed you a prophet. Not only are you the wisdom in the land, not only are you the speaker, as we know prophets to be, talking about someone who's divinely influenced. This is talking about one who allows that divinely influence to guide your life. This is talking about one who allows who has relinquished self. There is no way that you can be a prophet and still be Captain, to still be George. You give that up. You give that up because you cannot hear if you're trying to hold on to your own values. So this prophet is talking about one who relinquishes who he is so that he can be one, so he can be intimate with God or with Elohim. He is influenced by that divine spark that is in him. And the scripture, I was reading something about the Talmud. The Talmud, you hear us talk about different types of Bibles, or you hear us talking about the Chumash or the some of the Tanakh or some of the others. The Talmud was a Jewish interpretation of the Torah, of the scriptures. So a lot, I don't lean on that a lot because it is an interpretation. But sometimes if I'm looking at something for factual things, I'll look at, but I try to always identify what I've looked at before I tell you about it. Okay. So according to the Talmud, there were thousands of prophets in Israel, but most of those prophets had specific purposes. They were not just for this prophet that I'm talking about now, Jeremiah, is not limited by time. So when I say this is describing you, what I'm saying is you are not limited by time. As you walk away from who you are, as you walk with Elohim, being this spokesperson, being this energy, being this type of thinker, being this type of prayer or your meditations is not bound by time or geography or even gender, because there were female prophets. One of the Talmud talks about Sarah being a prophet, but Sarah was not a prophet to the nation. Sarah guided Abraham. Abraham had the ear of Abraham. He consulted with Sarah when he before moves were made, and please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying she was the boss of this. I'm saying they were one. I'm saying the feminine and the masculinity were one, and that's how they moved. That is the action. The oneness of them became a verb, became the action of what they did. So as you look at a prophet, please mute your phones, please. But as you look at a prophet and what a prophet is, you are one with Elohim. You are the guide. You are the thoughts. You are the energy that this land needs. So as you transform, you are also assisting in transforming the land. So it's not only are you a thinker, not only are you the wisdom, not only are you the historian, you are the pulse that breathes for the land. Questions or comments, y'all? A little bit further, the word nation says, I appointed you prophets to the nations. It does not say nation. It is not just talking about Israel. It says for the nations. You see how universal this is? You see that this is talking about the universe. The nation is talking about nations, is talking about people. The nation is even talking more about cultures. It's talking about thoughts. It's talking about collections of thoughts, collections of culture, collections of beliefs, or collections of value. I'm appointing you to be God over all of that. I'm appointing you to be the prophet over how men think. I'm appointing you to be prophet about what's important to these different cultures. I'm making you this word comes from, I can't pronounce, Gahah, G-A-A-H. It means to rise up, to be the back, or the back, or talks about looking at each individual. It's not so much, it's not just that I am concerned with the nation as a whole. I am concerned with each and every individual. So I look at each and every person. I look at everything and see, as we go on, we're going to get into this where he says, but I am just a youth, because I know this sounds overwhelming. Are you talking about me, Ron? Are you saying that I am over all these nations? Are you saying that I have this energy? Yes. Yes. I'm saying that as we walk in these energies, as we took that journey individually and collectively, and as we did that, and as we embrace being Jeremiah, as we embrace the energy of Isaiah, and we recognize that we walked the same way. What that boy name who walked and was no more.
Enoch.
Enoch. Yeah. As you walk in the footsteps of Enoch, you are no more. You are no more the individual that you set out to be. You are no more the individual that you have patterned yourself to be all of these years. You have decided, and this, you have decided to answer the voice that was in you. And you say, how did I know? What made me turn? It may be different for each and every one of us that brought us to this place. It doesn't matter. As it said, before you were in, I formed you in the womb, before you were even born, you were set apart for this. And as we learned from Isaiah, this is not against any of our wills. Any one of us can hang this line up right now. But this was a decision made before we were born. Remember in Isaiah, he said, who shall I send? Who shall I send? This is talking about your spirit, your heart. As you see the trouble in the land, as you see what was going on, and your heart could not let you just bear this and do nothing. So the oneness that we have with Elohim, the walk, the journey that we have taken, has brought us to this point. And it is showing us what the nations look like. And as we look at the news, as we read, as we see this, as we see that, we don't get bogged down in the feelings of it. This is a growth thing, because I'm right there with you. The things that make me angry or disappointed or depressed, I'm to see now and to understand that you are a remedy. And the remedy is not only just concentrating and meditating on those things we see. The remedy is meditating on me, fixing me, so that those thoughts that I have, those meditations that I have, can be influenced as well. You are a healer of the land. And if we were not ready for this, we would not be studying it. Questions, y'all? Comments?
Hey, Ron, this is Charles.
Yes, sir.
I wonder that when you said this is us, it made me see that he's these words, these lessons is shaping us for what's to come. You understand what I'm saying? These lessons, these words that we seeing and trying to understand, and the names of these words and what they mean, is shaping us for what's to come.
There's a scripture, and I'm bad at this, that talks about when a teacher is needed. I think one will appear, something like that. The come is us, Charles. As I said, we are not bound by time. So as we learn this, as we transform who we are and see and recognize and embrace it, we are the here and now, and we bring it forth. It doesn't just what is to come as though it is coming whether we're ready or not. You make it come. You are responsible for what is happening in the land. You are responsible for the pandemic. You are responsible for the upheaval in the land. You are responsible for the Barack Obama who came in the land and stirred the pot. You are responsible for, because of the Barack Obama, there had to be a Donald Trump that came that really stirred the pot. So as these things happening, a harness nest, there is so much confusion in the land. There is so much turmoil in the land. All these things have to be revealed so that they can be transformed. So as we consecrate ourselves, as we make room internally, and the way that womb looks like this, because God, it was one word that stuck out to me. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember. But anyway, as these things, you are the womb, you are the opening for wisdom to come into you. And so you, not only is it to come, Charles brought it in. Charles brought it in. All of us are responsible for what is taking place. That's how I know that it is not too big for us. We are the how-tos. We can no longer look at these things and say, well, what do we do about that? How can this be fixed? If you notice, things happening so rapidly. It's like, how can they think of this? How can they erase all the history? How can they do this? How can they take all these books out? This, you got to see that this isn't just a man thinking. This is an energy. This is an energy. And when we recognize the energy that we are, that's what this is all about. You cannot fight this being Ron, being Charles, being George, being Kathy. No matter how much we desire, we have to see our spiritual self. We have to transform and use the energy that we are, because we're fighting against energy. Does that help at all, Charles?
Yes, it did, because you remember about when Jesus was in the boat, in the lower part of the boat, and that storm was so bad, and the people thought they were going to die from it, and they went to Jesus trying, to get Jesus to calm the storm, and Jesus looked at them and said that they could have did it, but he came up anyhow and quieted the storm. So I see that what you just said about is us the one have to do this in everything is not we're looking at it as a physical thing, but it's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual war.
It is. It is. That's the other thing, Charles, that I think is a misconception that we can embrace. Yes, it is a war. It is a war because it's something that stands opposed to righteousness. It stands against enlightenment. But we don't fight this as a war, as a common war, as we know battles to be. This is spiritual. And what we do as we recognize what is ungodly, for lack of a better term, and we embrace it. We embrace it. We embrace it because it is brought about by unrightness. Getting angry about it like you would as a soldier fighting a war does not change anything. We embrace it and see that these are coming from people who don't know any better. These are toddlers on a spiritual level. They're grown men and women, but they're toddlers because they don't know who they are. They're no different than that baby that learns how to walk. He has a concept of here and now that I'm learning how to walk. And this is phenomenal because I've seen everybody else walk. This is what I can do, but I have no idea what I'm capable of. So as one of the lessons we understanding is war doesn't mean warfare as we have come to know it to mean in the conventional sense. War is understanding, and I think that's why the one writer that I really like, Douglas Klotz, used to always talk about embracing those voices within, understanding who you are and embracing what is in you and bringing those voices together. And I think the other beautiful illustration of that on those same lines is when we studied some years ago. Barbara did the lesson on being equally yoked. Understanding that, meaning that is not meaning or even deeper meaning, I should probably say, not going out looking for a spouse or choosing your friends. It's talking about what is inside of you. How do you embrace who you are and what is inside of you? Those many aspects of self. So that's who we are, and that is how we wage this battle. So does that make sense?
Yes, make a lot of sense.
So again, before you were born is talking about before I send you out forth, before you go forth. You born is talking about a purpose. A purpose. So as we mature, as we transform, we are being reborn. We are being moved and positioned for a purpose. This is not just an appointment. This is more than that. Okay? Then I said, let's see where we are. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. And I appointed you prophet over the nations. And I think we talked about that. You have been delivered to do this. Do you hear that? You have been delivered to do this. You have been set apart to do this. You have been prepared to do this. So as I said, all the things we see, we recognize that those things are spiritual. Because you said, well, how can anybody be this evil? How can they think of things to do this rapidly? This is spiritually. This is spiritual. This is spiritual. So, verse 6, then I said, alas, Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak because I am a youth. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am a youth, because everywhere I send you, you shall go, and all that I command you, you shall speak. Verse 7 sounds harsh, doesn't it? Verse 7 almost sounds like, you're going to do this no matter what. That's not what that's saying. Verse 7 is a reassurance. Back it up a little bit. As I said a few minutes ago, as when we were making this description, when we first looked at verses 3 and 4, and looking up at who Jeremiah is. And I said, every one of us has made that thought. I had that thought, rather. Who am I that I can do this? Who am I? Is this talking about me? Maybe it's talking about pastor. But what about the rest of us? Can I do this? Why am I here? I get on the phone and maybe I don't say anything because I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is talking about me. The very fact that you keep calling in tells you that it is. The very fact that this touches someplace deep inside of you. The very fact that you wake up on Saturday morning and you give thought to calling in on this line tells you it is talking about you. The very fact that all of your beings, all of those voices inside of you line up and say, it is almost 10 o'clock. It is almost 11 o'clock. And if you can make it on Monday, it is almost 6 o'clock. The very fact that you have that feeling inside of you tells you this is about you. You may not have ever said a word on this line, but you are as much a part of this as this is a part of you. So the youthfulness, as we know, Jeremiah was young in age. And again, as we defined earlier, age is talking about your spiritual growth. This isn't talking about your chronological years. So, and that's looking at it from a spiritual perspective, okay? I'm not disputing that he was young. He's a youth. But I'm saying we take the words off the page. The journey that you have taken shows you the more. The words are off the page, and they're saying, I am but a youth is not the same thing that all the other doctors can make. All the ones who are giving out the pills, you have been the one that says, I want to be a healer. I want to be the prophet. I am no longer self. I relinquish self. I am the one who prays for the land. I am the one who is sensitive to what goes on in the land. I am no longer a youth. So he's saying to him, do not say any longer that I am a youth, because you can do this. The key to understanding this is the word everywhere. He says, because everywhere I send you, everywhere is talking about you're going to be, no matter what the situation, you're going to be above it. No matter what the situation, you're going to be able to climb above it. No matter what the situation, you're going to be able to ascend up. No matter what the situation, you're going to be in the daylight. In other words, you will be able to find the light. Everywhere I send you, there is nothing that's going to be stronger than you. Recognize who we are, and remember that if there is nothing wrong with me calling pastor or calling any of you if I feel overwhelmed. There is nothing wrong with us reaching out to each other. You are the chef, and you have stirred the pot. It's time to cook the meal. You know the way. You know the recipe. You know what goes in it. It's time to do this. It says, so no matter what I do, you should speak. You should be there. You should be enlightened. You should speak talks about communing with. You should speak talks about shaking things up. Everything isn't going to always be harmony. Shaking things up. No, this cannot be. No, this is wrong. The things we see, excuse me, we a few weeks ago, we looked at an article that Pastor sent us looking at what the evangelical church is trying to do, not only in America, but globally, how they're trying to control the media, how they're trying to control education, how they're trying to control religion. And it was several other things, but I don't remember what they all are. Answer is the people on this phone. And again, just reassurance that this is spiritual, as you know that this is a desire. You have the desire, you have the energies of not only these prophets. These prophets have a name because these are the energies that's in you, and you got to be able to put a face to it. You got to be able to see who you are. Just like I call you a doctor, or I want you to be able to relate to that. I am a healer. I am someone people can talk to. I am the one who sets the path straight. So when you look at these things, you are not overwhelmed by anything. I brought you to this land, and you were beaten and you were whipped and you were giving a false god. All of that helped to shape you. And all of those people, all of those ancestors, all of those who are Elohim, who recognize now that they're Elohim, all of those are you. And all of that is what influences you. And when we embrace that in a healthy way, meaning that we understand that all of this is what has shaped us and brought us to this place, that I am no longer driven by my feelings and emotions or my dislike for this one or for that one. I am more than, and I see that now. I am not a youth. I am not a youth. And I will be elevated wherever I go. Do not be afraid of them. For I am with you to deliver you. To deliver you. I am with you to deliver you. Again, deliverance is not, it's talking about you're going to do some strong things. Religion has to be dismantled. It has to be dismantled. And what we are preparing to do is do just that. And again, it's not by battling the way we know someone has to be put down, someone has to be destroyed. The battle starts within and it extends without, from the inside out. And it changes the land as you put it out there in the universe, as we put love and peace and harmony, as we understand who we are, and we embrace the falsehood of things by speaking truth to it. This is not who God is. This is not what God has designed the land to be. And as these things come up, he says, everywhere I send you, you will be elevated. In other words, you will have wisdom. Back to what George talked about the prophet, you will have the wisdom. It will come to you. You will know what to say. You will know what to do. And in some point, possibilities, it may just mean to sit still. But it will come to you. Then the Lord. Any questions, y'all? Questions, comments?
Yeah, good morning, Ron. I mean, again today, we're blessed where you're taking us into a spiritual awareness of our memorizations in terms of the whole concept about spiritual education. And I say this in terms of just the teaching of our ancestors. It's talked about the ultimate aim, of spiritual awareness was in Egypt was for a person to become one with God, one with Elohim, or to become like Elohim, and more significantly, to be Elohim. But it talks about the path to this development of godlike qualities was through the development of the virtue of spiritual wisdom. And those wisdom come through virtues of our thoughts, our speech, and our deeds. And when you spoke of the prophet, I think we need to look at or move into that spiritual awareness of our memories. What have we been taught? What have we learned? And I think as we continue to spiritually grow, we can look at that education from how we were taught in terms of the mental wellness of what psychology is, but the psychology in terms of what we understand and being able to look at it from the spiritual perspective talks about the law of preservation. And if we look at preservation and we go back to what you use in reference to Jeremiah being in the belly of our mother's womb, I think it comes back to those principles that we can begin to appreciate in terms of what our ancestors talked about was the psychology, which is spelled SAKULOGY. But what's the difference? And the difference is we can look at it from academic intelligence in terms of psychology, or we can look at it from the spiritual perspective of the study of the heart soul, which is what the psychology is in terms of it being spelled SAKULOGY. But I'm just trying to say, Ron, that it comes back to the origins of beginning when you talk about the importance of how the organic memory is cultivated and how that relates to, the human and the organic life, but it's all part of the soul of our hearts. And I believe that that's what you're ushering us into in terms of appreciating the heart soul. So I just wanted to share those because I think that there's a journey that we're all on in terms of self-awareness and our capacity to understand our true nature, to expand our consciousness, and to know our birthright, is to know ourselves. So there's some, other feelings that I have about this, but it's just that I'm truly encouraged and I'm empowered to realize that, again, not only am I Elohim, not only are we Elohim, but to be able to understand it from his original conception was to be one with God, to be Elohim. So thank you for letting me share those thoughts. And again, I'm just trying to come to a better understanding of my true self. And I appreciate you letting me share these thoughts. Thank you. I'm done.
No, thank you, George. You summed it up beautifully. And that's what we talk about. It takes all of us to do this. The scriptures are repetitive and they say a lot of the same things that's in different ways, and that's the beauty of what we do. It is not coincident that George said that or he put it in different words in his words, but it helps because somebody else sees it better the way George explained it. And that's what I mean. We are just as repetitive, or we need to be just as repetitive as the scriptures are, so that we can make this clear and make it understandable to everybody that's on this line. And as we put it in the universe, not just on this line. You are on this line so that it can be out in the universe. Your thoughts and energy is what dictates these lessons. Where are we? These things don't just happenstance. We just don't pick a lesson out of the stand. We don't go to some YouTube or and pick out a lesson. This comes through prayer, meditation. Lord, where are we? And that comes from you. There are times we're on this phone and somebody may talk about something that I'm battling with, and then somebody else come in with something else along those lines, and that's what we talk about. Because not only are you battling with it, it is the problem in the universe. That is what is going on in the universe. So thank you, George. I appreciate it. I was thinking when you spell that word, if you don't mind, I'm gonna get you to send it to me because I like that. I want to look at that word, and if you have some time later to send it to me.
Absolutely. I'll be happy and honored to send it to you, Ron. Absolutely.
Thank you.
George,
And I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
George, would you send it to me too, please? This is Vermel.
Yes. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely, Vermel. Absolutely. And Ron and everyone, as I say, I'm just, so encouraged and empowered in terms of what we're being taught. And I think the bottom line for me, and I hope for all of us, is that, I want to know me.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate, I want to think, see, hear, smell, taste, and feel when we talk about our perceptions in terms of our senses, but I cannot because I am spirit. But it goes on to say in this African proverb, I am in potential rest in my eternal space, but I want to come out now. I want to be and continue to be so that I can know that I am who I am. I am the creator, but the only way to know is to come into physical form. So when you said, again, being in the belly of our mother's wombs, we're now coming out into this marvelous light. And the scripture says, arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen up on you. So you're ushering us. We're being ushered now to appreciate that it's all there. But we're coming more to a corporate awareness of the oneness that we all are, and that's the power that we have to be able to change, the universe through our heart soul. So again, I'm grateful for the teaching today, Ron, and everyone. And so I will definitely send that, Ron and Vermel. Thank you for letting me share again.
Thank you. Again, what you said, that is the desire. I want to know who I am. I want to know. I recognize the brilliance that of the light that the Elohim has put in me, and until now I have not known what to do with it or what that even meant. But now I'm ready to go forward. I want to know who sets their heart to become anything and not want to be the best to know who they are. You have opportunity to be a mother or a father or a sister. You give your best effort to those you love. Be the best. Expand that love to the universe and be the best version of you. Maya and Isaiah and all of those represents a spirit. Verse 8 again says, do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am is with you to deliver you. For I am is with you to deliver you. We are not alone. So the eye is open. It is open, and it is absorbing who we are and what we are to do and what we are to become. For I am delivered you, declare the Lord. Then the Lord stretched out his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, behold, I have put my words in your mouth. That word stretched means to send. It means to appoint. Or it means to put out there. The word hand is not only talking about your strength and power, it's talking about the direction. I am giving you my strength. I'm putting my strength, my power in you. I'm putting my wisdom in your mouth. Mouth is not only talking about speech, mouth talks about breath. As you speak, the breath that you put out there, the words that you put out there, again, we've said this too, you cannot speak without putting forth breath. And again, remember Abraham. I talked in the beginning about the version, the journey of Abraham. That is your journey. Abraham is an energy, just like the rest of these. You took that journey. You partook. You took part in that journey, and the hay was added to your name. That breath, that special breath, that special connection was added to you. You see how all this stuff comes together? So the power, the direction in which we go, the means of how to do it, the strength and the authority of Elohim is in your mouth. So the words are there. And if it's in your mouth, let's take it a little further. You do not speak without thinking. Hope not. But in this regard, that's what I'm talking about. So if these words are in your mouth, they're in your mind, they're in your heart. It is a womb that is you. So in every situation, there is nothing stronger than you. Listen to this, to this next verse. See, I have appointed you. I have specially chosen you to put you here. This day, this enlightenment period, this day over all the nations, over all the kingdoms. In other words, there is not a ruler. There is not anyone with any type of status in the earth before today or after today, in the past or in the future, that can override the word that is in you. Can we see that when I say I am Elohim, I am not bound by time? Nothing has a stronghold over me. Nothing can confine me. This day, you have my strength, and I am appointing you over all the kingdoms of the world, over all the nations, to pluck up, to birth. Look at that. Your words, your wisdom, the advice, when you talk to our children, when you talk to that person at work that talks to you about their personal problem, you're already doing it. And it says to break to pluck out. This means like a gardener pulling up weeds. You're going to uproot stuff. You're going to tear down stuff. You're going to overthrow stuff. You're going to tear down walls. You're going to destroy stuff. You do it with love and compassion, just like you broke down your walls, just like you uprooted the weeds that are in you, just like we continue to pull up those things in us that is not beneficial, those things that not offer us nourishment. Right now, we are still separating the wheat from the chaff that is in us. And with that same type of compassion, you use to talk to others. You use to enlighten others. You use when we pray about things in the land. We use when we think about people suffering. As we continue to tear down those walls that are internally, that is tearing down those walls that are externally. And then look at the last part of that. When you get through tearing all that down, when you took down the wall to your field and you uprooted all the weeds and you plowed and you cultivated the land, now it's time to build and to plant. It's time to reseed. It's time to cultivate. It's time to water. It's time to tender, take care of that. It is the vision that I had was your child does something bad and disappoints you, and you punish that child. But at some point, you go back and love him. You correct him, and you sit down and you talk to him, and you make sure that he understands that this wasn't just something that he did wrong, but why it was wrong, why it made you feel that way, and what is the corrective action. Where we are. You are above everything in the land. You are the healer. So all those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, they come to one place. They come to this place. And there'll be plenty of times we have to exhale. We have to stop and think before we speak. We have to not let the emotions overtake us. I've heard others tell me, Evelyn mainly, but others say the same thing, things that happen at work that can and will at times push that emotional buttons, but sometimes you just have to think. You just have to take that breath. And that breath is the wisdom that they see, because you don't respond the way they expected you to. So not only taking that breath, it's still tearing down what's inside of you. You're tearing down what is inside of others. This is us, y'all. This is us. Every bit of it. Questions or comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
I know this, I agree with you, and yes, we were chosen from the womb. I think that's true. So does it also apply that if we don't step up, then we get the wrath?
Well, the last part, Audrey, if we don't step up.
We get the wrath of whatever this enemy from the north, or whatever that represents. Do we get that?
That's a good question. Here's what I see. Here's my thoughts on it. Verse 7 is not a command like I would tell a son of mine, you will do this. You don't have a choice. I think verse 7 is an assurance. I think verse 7 is saying, you will do this because this is who you are. Just like if we can believe, if we can see that I was chosen before I was in the womb, I was chosen before I was placed in my mother's womb. And this womb is not even talking physical. This is spiritual. But if I can see that, then I also can see that this is already done. If I have accepted this challenge or this opportunity before I was in the womb, then it is already done. That's how I see it. It is not a sequential thing that time controls. Once I accepted it, it was already done.
True, but we are also given over to human tendency to have doubts and to let our eyes believe what we see. In which case, and like Jonah was given a task, and he was he also was chosen to do that task, but he turned away for a time. Well, let me ask this then. Is that partly what slavery was about? Us turning away for a time? And then the for lack of a better word, the punishment, and I don't mean punishment exactly, but I don't have any other word for it. The consequences, I guess.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I do believe that. I think we were put in that position because we did turn away. Turn away is always temporary. It looked like forever and a day with slavery, but it is temporary when you look at it from a spiritual perspective. The description that you said, Jonah turned away for a season. What if that season represented slavery? So you see the consequences, and the consequences are, as you said, not a punishment. The consequences is looking at it and say, this is the state that the world is in. This is humanity. This is what it looks like. You are animals. You are animals, and you treat each other like animals. You lord, or there is no righteousness in the land. But as you said, with Jonah being an example, the time will come when you will recognize self and be done. And if we look at it from the perspective, you guys hear me talk about this several times. It took me forever for me to say and to recognize I am Elohim. I could not see that. That was not clear to me. Could not see Ronald Johnson as Elohim.
So, and as kind of a consequence,
yeah.
You struggled.
Yes.
So when we don't accept the mantle, so to speak, even though we have reassurances, even though we can sort of see it, we are still living our lives. We are still being influenced by others in our lives. We're still being influenced by circumstances. So sometimes we do struggle, and it takes us a bit of time to realize what it is that the Creator meant for us to realize.
Let me add this to what you're saying. I love your question. It's a brilliant question. The other side of that is I struggled, but I only said something to Pastor about I was struggling. And you guys don't realize this, but I was trying to get him to help me get somebody else to teach, because I recognized I was struggling and I felt bad about it. And he said, no, keep doing what you're doing. And I relied on you guys. Here is the difference. There is a difference in wanting to be righteous and struggling. And what Judah and Jerusalem did was turn their back, recognizing that I'm turning my back on God, but I choose to be wealthy. I choose to have to manipulate the people and have them worship me. I choose to have my status. That is different than the struggle. The struggle is okay. We're going to struggle. The
Right.
struggle is, because we are each other's strength. Like I said, you guys didn't recognize my lack of confidence, but I kept talking. I kept talking because the lessons kept coming. wasn't, it didn't have the reassurance that I thought I needed to have. So the struggles aren't bad as long as your intentions are to do what's right. It's okay to be afraid. He says, you're going to do this. In other words, time is not the problem here. You will not be, the time is not the issue. Don't worry about it. You're going to do this. That is a reassurance to me. But I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I think this whole thing is a reassurance that I have called you, I have made you what I want you to be. It's there already. All you have to do is realize it and act on it.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that. But yeah, but I also think when we don't have the realization of who we are, yeah, it can be a struggle. And some people
Yeah.
turn away from it.
Yeah. It can indeed be a struggle. And Jonah is a perfect example. Perfect example. And I don't think it is a coincidence that we looked at that before we moved on as one of those things that you know, showed us that the struggle is a part of the journey. That is a part of the journey.
Ron, good morning. This is Kathy. I have a question on the heels of what Audrey is asking. And based on what we talked about when we were looking at, when Nick was teaching about hell, and that when you transition, if you believed that there was a place called hell, then you had an altered reality and you experienced those things on the other side. Does that not really apply also to what Audrey is asking now? Because if you are seeing these things and you're not ready to walk in it, you stay at a place of altered reality because you're not living or you're not being the Elohim that you are. You're growing into it. It's not saying that punishment is coming where the Creator is going to punish you, but the things that have frustrated you, the things that continue to bother you, will continue to do so simply because you have not embraced who you are and see the strength and the power that you have over all of those circumstances. So I'm kind of tying those two things together. So do you see what I'm saying there? Am I seeing it correctly?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. That is an excellent example. That is and as also Nick said, that version of hell is right here on earth, you know, or can be. So I embrace that totally.
I agree, Kathy.
Yeah. Go ahead, Audrey.
No, I was just saying, I agree with what Kathy is saying, and it is that very thing that she's talking about. Yeah. When you don't recognize and embrace who you are.
So and again, based on those thoughts you guys just had, it is not God doing anything to you. We look at it from a perspective that we see it as, you know, something externally happening. No, it is us. What she describes comes from us. So you can embrace who you are, or you can embrace the falsehood of who you have patterned yourself to be, and there are consequences for that. There are things that will shake you. There are things that bring fear about in you. There are things that rattle us. So that's a great point. That sums it up beautifully. I love where we are. I love where we are. Oh, that's all I had, y'all. I only looked at those 10 verses. I hope anyway, thoughts or questions? Okay. Thank you. I think we had a very good discussion, and any questions that come out of this, we'll discuss them tomorrow. So it was a beautiful day yesterday. It looks a little overcast here today, but early enough to get out and enjoy the day. Again, thank you, everyone, those who are on the line. Hope you have a good day and look forward to speaking with everyone tomorrow. Okay? Thanks, y'all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Ralph.
you.
On.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.